Behind every piece of chocolate and every glass of wine lies a hidden world of transformation. From the moment ripe cacao pods are cracked open, to the grinding, conching, and shaping that create the smooth bars we savor, each step is a dance of flavor, science, and tradition. And just as captivating, humble grapes are crushed, fermented, and aged until they emerge as bottles of wine that carry centuries of craftsmanship. Today, we take you inside these colossal industrial journeys, where raw nature becomes luxury, and reveal the stunning process few have ever truly seen. From above, the rainforest parts to reveal a leviathan of steel, a cacao factory breathing like a city. The day opens like a book. Workers stream in shoulder to shoulder. Trucks rumble out heavy with promise. Inside, chrome bones, pipes, valves, and towering tanks trace bright arteries through the complex. In the control room, monitors bloom with numbers and icons, a constellation of tiny decisions guiding a giant. But every story still begins in the shade of a tree. Hands, calloused, careful, twist a ripe cacao pod from bark. It drops with a soft thud, sweetness sealed in a rough shell. Baskets rise, filling with color. The village shivers as a haul of burlap sacks passes by, destination stamped in dust. A crane crouches, then lifts. Sacks rise like planets, swinging toward the maw of a steel hopper. The first cascade is thunder. Beans rush, rattle, and climb a moving river of belts toward tall silos. Below, vast chambers swallow the flow, breathing it into order. Fans spin, extractors hum. Dust settles, and the machine, now fully awake, asks the same question we do. What will these beans become? The shaker wakes the stones from the beans. A hard rattle shakes grit free, leaving cacao clean. Across the belt, a dark river runs smooth. Steel roasters stand like furnaces. Fire blooms behind glass. Inside, nibs tumble, each turn unlocking aroma. Roast curves rise and hold, then fall, precision drawn in heat. The camera widens. A procession of roasters. Ducks feed breath, alive on the panel, icons flare, heat, airflow, time. Each degree a decision, every choice shaping flavor. Numbers steady. The room answers with a crackle and scent. Rich and warm, a robot arm stirs inside a clear chamber, tireless, keeping the roast honest. Then the pour. A dark gold cascade spills to the conveyor, crackling softly, massive fans draw heat away. Beans settle, sheen deepening. Cooling locks flavor in. Around them, pipes ferry steam and gas, a lattice stitching the system. Steel jaws bite, shells split, waste loosens its grip. A curtain of air lifts husk into a whispering cloud, while the heavier hearts, nibs, drop with decisive clicks into a waiting tray. Gravity sorts. A conveyor delivers the dark kernels into a stainless hopper. Valves sigh. Then pressure. Twin rollers knead nibs until solid becomes silk. Cacao liquor emerges, warm and glossy. A river of scent sliding through an inox channel. In the vat, paddles turn, steady, deliberate, keeping texture even, heat true on the press. The mass is divided. Golden cocoa butter flows in ribbons to shallow pans, clear as melted sunlight. From the press cake, a storm of fine cocoa powder drifts into a drum below. Ingredients named, characters cast. Pull back. Ranks of tanks and pipes extend like a steel city grid, lights pulsing at the nodes. Push in, gears mesh, shafts spin, housings hum. Conches take over, vast drums churn without rest, kneading flavor and texture until every rough edge surrenders to silk. Up close, the surface glows. A glossy tide that catches light and throws it back, slow and certain. I am a stainless giant, paddles turn and turn. 24 hours if that's what perfection asks. Patience engineered into motion. Pipes lace the ceiling and floor, a steel circulatory system carrying liquid chocolate from heart to limb, warm and alive. A red beacon blinks. Then the drop. A waterfall over a steel weir, each sheet thinning, polishing, smoothing the last stubborn granules. Beyond, a long regiment of refiners, the roller trains, take turns pressing the structure finer still on the panel. Icons translate touch into numbers. Temperature, pressure, shear, each parameter tuned to a note in the chord of taste. Shafts spin, bearings sing. Here, time is an ingredient, friction a sculptor, and chocolate finds its voice. Tempering begins. Liquid chocolate circles in a disciplined dance, guided through curves of heat and chill until the crystals snap into place. The steel spout, a ribbon gleams, whisper thin. Empty molds roll past on the conveyor, a parade of frames waiting to be filled. Valves click. Each cavity receives its measure. No more, no less. Air taps shake bubbles to the surface. Tension smooths the tops to a glassy calm. The molds slide into the cold room. Bars release with a snap, set, glossy, proud. Downstream, the line assembles order. Inspection, release, a river of finished chocolate. Foil gathers and hugs each bar in silver, edges folded, future sealed. Pull wide. Dozens, then hundreds rolling in rows, labels flashing. Cartons rise, stack, and glide toward pallets. Waiting ships, waiting hands. Precision becomes appetite. Craft becomes promise. Chocolate made ready for the world. Cartons arrive like empty promises, riding the conveyor in a steady rhythm. They open, fold, lock, export icons, destinations beyond the map. Boxes flow onward. Pallet lifts with a sigh of hydraulics. Pull wide. The cold warehouse breathes. Tall racks climb toward the roof, every level stacked with chocolate at perfect chill. Autonomous robots whisper past, LEDs blinking, shouldering, pallets to exact coordinates. Outside, a container crane lowers a reefer onto a truck. Doors seal, thermographs blink green. The highway unwinds. White lines strobe under a refrigerated run that keeps flavor safe to the port, gantries stride. Containers rise, swing, and settle into the steel grid of a ship. Lines cast off. Engines answer. From the air, the vessel cuts a bright path into evening. Sunset on water, chocolate bound for the world. On the supermarket aisle, a field of silver winks back. Rows of chocolate, promise wrapped in light that a hand reaches, pauses, chooses. With a soft crackle of foil, the journey becomes personal in a kitchen. A chef's knife taps a clean rhythm. Bars turn to bright shards, measured into batter. Elsewhere, heat meets comfort. Squares slip into a cup of hot milk and swirl. This chapter closes, but don't go anywhere. Up next, we follow a new pilgrimage. From sunlit clusters of grapes to bottles of wine. Dawn unrolls its gold across a map of vines. Endless rows drawing green lines to the horizon up close. Purple skins beaded with dew, morning's quiet crown. Then the machines arrive. Gentle giants easing between trellised aisles, vines tremble. Pedestals loosen. Fruit lets go. Grapes tumble to conveyors in a soft thunder. A clatter of harvest and hope that a truck kneels beneath the surge. Bed brimming with the day's first yield. Close on the wheels. Rubber presses gravel into rhythm. Steady drum toward the winery. A quick human pause. Gloves, eyes, a knife to sample, skins checked, seeds tasted, numbers confirmed, the gate tilts. The hopper yawns. A purple avalanche slides down, cool and sweet, foaming with breath, inside. The holding tank spreads like a twilight lake, stainless steel reflecting a coming story. Surface heaves and settles. Pumps murmur, beneath, grapes crowd shoulder to shoulder, stems afloat like driftwood. Steel takes the handoff. Grapes roll onto a stainless conveyor, a purple tide finding its lane, nozzles flare. High-pressure fans of water comb the clusters, rinsing travel from the skins in slow motion. Every droplet becomes a lens, magnifying bloom and color, ringing like tiny bells on impact. A vibrating deck chatters. Leaves lift, stems skitter to the edges, and the fruit settles into rhythm. The line narrows into light. Optical sorters strobe the flow, freezing split-second portraits of every. Buried at an AI camera reads shade and shape, the quiet scars of sun and mildew. Thousands of choices each second, all yes or no. Puffs of air tick flawed grapes to a side conveyor. The good march on, unbruised and certain to the console. A worker rides the signal. Histogram steady, thresholds trimmed, a fingertip away from perfection. Around them, parallel belts hum like lanes on a highway, each carrying a chapter of the same story. From overhead, the maze resolves. Stainless lines weaving order from. Augers turn. A screw press takes the first embrace. Skins crease. Seeds stay unbroken from beneath. The first run of juice finds the trough, clear with a blush of green gold. Skins and seeds lift away in thick pomace, split from the stream. Next, the hydraulic press closes like a patient heartbeat. Plates advancing, cloths tightening on the dial, the needle climbs. 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. Pressure enough to persuade, never to bruise. Pipes take over, sections of glass revealing a steady river. A worker draws a sample, swirls, checks clarity and scent. A nod to balance, pull back. Ranks of stainless tanks wait, cavernous and cold, that a hatch opens. Juice pours in a constant curtain, meters ticking toward volume. On the surface, foam gathers and pops, tiny stars of CO2 from crushed fruit. Extraction ends where transformation begins. The must rests, the cellar hums, and fermentation waits just ahead. Inside the fermentation hall, cool air hums. Massive stainless tanks line the aisle like silver towers. Overhead and underfoot, a web of pipes ties them together. On the control panel, gauges settle into their zones, temperature, bricks, dissolved oxygen, quiet dials that steer a storm. At the valve, the system breathes in life. An automated lance doses yeast into the must. Foam lifts and seethes, a soft crown forming as the first CO2 escapes. A worker watches the fermentation screen, finger on the set points, trimming curves by a single degree. Our camera drifts with a drone between the tanks. The room thrums with a gentle tremor as jackets pump and vessels vibrate. On a monitor, graph sketch crescendos. Sugars falling, heat rising, a heartbeat of bubbles. A red beacon blinks, not a panic but a promise to pay attention. Filtration takes the stage. Rows of stainless columns in series, each one a gate that narrows the wine toward clarity. From the outlet, a steady ribbon runs, bright and calm, close enough to see breath on steel. A single drop travels the pipe, gathering light as it goes. A hatch will turns. The tank opens with a cool sigh, revealing a surface that mirrors the room in the lab. A spectrometer reads the truth in wavelengths. Numbers rise, fall, and lock. A technician swirls a sample tube, checking color and the way it moves, then passes it on, held against the light. A test vial shows the last faint haze. Decision time measured in microns. Automation takes over. Valves align and pumps hand the wine from stage to stage without a splash. The columns glow as pressure builds. Quiet, even relentless. To the far end, the final outlet lowers its voice to a clean pour into storage. No foam, no haste, filtration becomes finesse, and the wine rests ready for its next shape. Enter the cellar, a corridor of oak under soft, breathing light. Rows layer into rows, a geometry of patience. Barrels stacked 2-3 high, hoops dark, bellies pale, each one a small wooden world. Close enough to touch, the grain shows years of rings and a faint blush where wine has kissed the staves. Gloved hands ease out a bung. A damp, warm note rises. A hose couples to the cask. Pump hums. Red wine threads and along the staves, filling the curve, the barrel taking breath. The light turns honey down the aisle. Dust hangs like quiet snow. Time speeds. A fine film settles on the tops, chalk marks appear, dates tick forward. On the wall, a clock spins through evenings. Inside a new cask, a thin streak trails down oak, leaving color where tannin will trade stories with fruit. We rise, crane upward to see the scale. A cathedral of barrels, and in each, a future season of wine. Bottles fall into single file, ruby to the shoulder, gliding without a ripple. The corker descends. Press, seal, hush. Oxygen kept at the door. On the next lane, labels settle precisely. giving each bottle a name and an origin. The line runs on, hundreds deep, steady as a heartbeat. Point one bottle catches the light, turning slowly, glass, cork, promise. Cartons arrive already filled. Flaps fold, tape whispers, future stack. A forklift ferries pallets across the floor. Amber beacon ticking time. Pallets settle into clean rows, order ready to travel. Thanks for staying with me to the end. Drop a like, subscribe for more, and join me on our next journey.